It is the 31st day of July 2023. Hello and welcome to the News International Edition. We're coming to you live from our Vision Group headquarters here in Kampala, Uganda. I'm Emma Akwero. We start today from Ukraine, where 2 people were killed after a Russian missile attack on the central Ukrainian city of Kryvyi on Monday afternoon, the Interior Minister Igor Klemenko reported. Klemenko wrote on Telegram that there were 2 strikes on Kryvyi at 9 a.m., almost in the center of the city. On the other hand, Russia said on Sunday that it had downed Ukrainian drones targeting Moscow and the Crimea Peninsula.
At least 2 people were killed and 31 wounded in a morning Russian strike that hit a residential building in Ukraine's Kryvyi, says the head of city's military administration, adding that there might still be 8 people under the rubble. Around 9 a.m. this morning, 2 missile strikes hit the city. One on a 9-story building, the third to the 8th floor are totally gone. Also, 1 missile hit an academic building of the Economical College. As of now, unfortunately, already 31 people are injured. 1 person is in a serious condition. 2 people also died. Unfortunately, there still might be 8 people under the rubble. Klemenko said one of the strikes destroyed several floors of an apartment block and the other damaged an educational building. President Volodymyr Zelensky posted on Facebook a video showing black smoke coming out of a huge hole torn in the facade of a block of flats. The footage also shows a non-residential building that is partially destroyed. Zelensky said that Russians are continuing to terrorize peaceful cities and people. Also, Ukrainian firefighters worked to douse the blaze at a warehouse in Kharkiv hit by a Russian missile strike, as seen in images released by the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. On the night of July 31st, the enemy fired missiles at the Novobavarsky district of Kharkiv. As a result of the shelling, a warehouse building was partially destroyed, the emergency services wrote on social media. Meanwhile, Russia said on Sunday it had downed Ukrainian drones targeting Moscow and the Crimea Peninsula in attacks that damaged 2 office towers in the capital and briefly shut an international airport. 1 drone targeting Moscow was shot down on the city's outskirts, and 2 others were suppressed by electronic warfare and smashed into an office complex early on Sunday, the Russian Defense Ministry said, adding that there were no injuries. Moscow and its environs, lying about 500 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, had rarely been targeted during the conflict in Ukraine until several drone attacks this year. Following the attacks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that war was coming to Russia. Russian aggression has gone bankrupt on the battlefield. Today is the 522nd day of the so-called special military operation, which the Russian leadership expected to last for a week or 2. Ukraine is getting stronger. Gradually, the war is returning to the territory of Russia, to its symbolic centers and military bases, and this is an inevitable, natural, and absolutely fair process.
Абсолютно справедливий процес.
Now, heavy rains have battered northern China, killing at least 2 people in Beijing while washing away cars and forcing the capital to issue its highest alerts for flooding and landslides. Storm Zukuri, a former super typhoon, has swept northwards over China since Friday when it hit southern Buzhong province after sinking through the Philippines. Emergency personnel recovered 2 bodies from the waterways in Beijing's Montagu district on Monday, the state-run People's Daily noted.
A red alert on Monday as heavy rains hit Beijing and surrounding areas, washing away cars and inundating underground stations. Our reporter saw tree branches and dented cars left by receding flood water. At least 2 people were killed. Swaths of northern China were under red alert on Monday as heavy rains hit Beijing and surrounding areas, washing away cars and inundating underground stations. Our reporter saw tree branches and dented cars left by receding flood water. Swaths of northern China were
Now, an update coming from Niger is as thousands have gathered in Niamey to demand the departure of French military troops from the country 4 days after the start of a coup that brought a military junta to power. Former Niger President Mohamedou Issoufou, whom Bazoum succeeded as head of state on Sunday, said that he intends to negotiate with the junta to restore Bazoum to the presidency. It had a turbulent political history since gaining independence in 1960 with 4 coups as well as numerous other attempts, including 2 previously against Bazoum.
African leaders on Sunday gave the junta in Niger 1 week to cede power or face the possible use of force and slaps financial sanctions on the pushists after the latest coup in the jihadist-plagued Sahel region raised alarm on the continent and in the West. In the 3rd coup in as many years to fail a leader in the Sahel, Niger's elected president and Western ally, Mohamed Bazoum, has been held by the military since Wednesday. General Abdurrahman Tian, the head of the powerful presidential guard, has declared himself leader and citizens are reacting. We have to be allowed to do what we want, to put in place the president we need. They must not impose people on us to manage us. That's the end of it. Bazoum is one of a dwindling group of elected presidents and pro-Western leaders in the Sahel, where since 2020, a jihadist insurgency has triggered coups in Mali and Burkina Faso. Former colonial ruler, France, and the European Union have suspended security cooperation and financial aid to Niger following the coup, while the United States warned that its aid could also be at stake. As citizens of Niger, we are against French bases, American bases, Canadian bases, Italian bases, all the bases that are in Niger. We don't need them. At an emergency summit in Nigeria, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, regional bloc, demanded Bazoum to be reinstated within a week. Otherwise, the bloc said it would take all measures to restore constitutional order. Such measures may include the use of force for this effect, it said in a statement, adding that ECOWAS defense chiefs were to meet on Sunday. No more time for us to send a warning signal, it's time for action, said Bola Tinubu, president of Nigeria and ECOWAS chairperson. It was not immediately clear how the 15-member ECOWAS could use force. Last year, the bloc agreed to create a regional security force to intervene against jihadists and prevent military coups, but details on the force and its funding have not been outlined. The bloc also slaps financial sanctions on the junta leaders and on the country, freezing all commercial and financial transactions between member states and Niger, one of the world's poorest nations, often ranking last on the UN's Human Development Index. On Saturday, the junta condemned the ECOWAS summit, saying its aim was to approve a plan of aggression against Niger in the form of an imminent military intervention in Niamey. The intervention would be in cooperation with African countries who are not members of the regional body and certain Western nations, junta member Amadou Abdurrahman said on national television. France, which has 1,500 soldiers in Niger, said on Saturday it was suspending development aid and budgetary support to the West African nation. The United States, which has about 1,000 troops in Niger, has offered Bazoum Washington's steadfast support and warned those detaining him that they were threatening years of successful cooperation and hundreds of millions of dollars of assistance. And the African Union condemned the coup and expressed deep concern over the alarming resurgence of military overthrows in Africa.
Now, there's been renewed clashes in South Lebanon's Palestinian camp. We'll come back with this and more stories after this short break. Please stay with us.